Hello and welcome to the Team Trails podcast, and thanks Phoenix Light for sponsoring this week's interview. The best design comes from the actual needs of users. Phoenix takes providing mobile lighting product with excellent performance as the goal and born for harsh environments as its mission. Never forget why you started, and your mission can be accomplished. My recent Trail Outlaws Dark Skies half marathon, I used the HM65R-T version 2. So much light. I probably was a bit conservative, and then when I got to the end and I thought...
You wanted them to see you coming into the finish, so you went full beam into everyone's
Yeah,
faces.
so I notched it up a couple of settings, and my goodness me, I was missing out on loads of light. But I went rogue. You know, I was kind of fond of the white light, I suppose, is how it's described.
And I've always told you, go warm.
I went off script, went for the warm light. It was incredible. You know, solid bit of kit, easy to use. When you see what people have on their heads for so many races that involve the night, it is that HM65R-T version 2. Don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at www.phoenixlight.co.uk. You need to pop over to Patreon to find that code, but all you lovely listeners can enjoy 5% off with the code TNT5.
We've got a treat. Every week, we bring you a smorgasbord of a new guest, a new treat. This one has been much requested, and I don't know what's taken us so long. I feel a bit embarrassed, really.
No reason whatsoever.
There's been no reason. It's just...
I suppose we get wrapped up with maybe, say, if a race has happened, so we speak to people who've been in a race, and then obviously people send us emails. So yeah, it's long overdue, but eventually we did reach out to John and Shirley Steele from Hardmoors, and they said yes.
And there's so much more. There was so much more we could dip into about even the story of how they meet is brilliant, is hilarious.
And the off-air chat.
And the off-air chat. Oh my God, have you heard it in here? Woo! The naked man on the bicycles. I'd love some more. Like, they were very politically correct about their races. And when we were like, come on, tell us terrible things people have done in races. But what came out of the chat, I think, is that it's all about the sense of community, and it's nothing about results. They're not looking to be like, we've got the fastest 100-mile trail time, we've got 50 miles that will blow your brains out. It's all about finishing. And even people not finishing, they're like, we want people to enjoy it, come for the experience. Celebrate everybody. And that comes across numerous times in the chat as well. And they're different experiences they bring to the trails, the way they talk about the even their like training philosophy. Shirley's like, don't train, just do the races. It's brilliant. And so settle in, press start on your Garmin, shut the car door, fold that laundry, and enjoy a blissful hour with the wonderful tones of Shirley and John Steele.
Today's guests don't just organise races, they built a movement. If you've ever slogged through a sideways rainstorm on the Cleveland Way, yes, I've done that. Cheered a stranger up Rosebery Topping, yes, I've done that too. Or found yourself crying into a cheer charge flapjack, probably have actually, at the finish line. Chances are you felt the magic of Hardmoors. Shirley and John Steele are the powerhouse duo behind one of the UK's most loved ultra series, a grassroots trail running community that's as tough as it's tender. From the brutal beauty of the 110 to the family feel of the 10Ks, they've created more than events, they've created belonging. In this episode, we talk about how it all began, the chaos and joy of race directing, and the moments that have made it all worthwhile. Whether you're a Hardmoors veteran or just trail curious, this one's for anyone who believes that running can change lives and that mud, hills and kindness are a pretty unbeatable combo. Let's lace up and head out with Shirley and John Steele. Yeah, thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thank you for having us on.
Hi. We've just been discussing how chilly the morning is. Did you recently do an event together, the LDWA Otter around the Otter 50, about 3 weeks ago? How was that? Did you do it together?
No, we don't run together. We are competitive, but we don't run together at all. John set off 2 hours after me because I was literally pottering, and it's LDWA, so you're allowed to just take your time. In fact, because I set off at 9, it was bad form to run. You had to walk. You weren't allowed to go through the checkpoints too early, so you were queuing up actually to then be released. At one point I was 8th, waiting to go through checkpoint 1. I loved it because it's where I come from. It's my home, Devon. It was going to all the places that I knew as a child, as a teenager and as an adult when we go back to visit. and I beat John. Even though he set off 2 hours after me, I beat him.
Yeah.
Were you just waiting at the end, drumming your fingers, going, did you get lost? Did you get a puncture?
I was lying there with my legs up on a chair because
Ooh.
I'd really pushed it. My knee was so bad, it hurt
Oh.
so much. I pushed through an awful lot of pain. So I was quite poorly at the end. So I just enjoyed waiting for him.
Was it one where you were following the route book, is it called? Where you have to, they just say, find the third blade of grass next to the stile and cross it? Was it one
I
of
did
those?
have my route description in my hand at all times. I had it on my watch as well, but my watch always dies after 11 hours. The last 12 miles or so, I was just relying on this, and it was such a good route description that I didn't need my watch anyway.
I love following those route descriptions because you feel like you're almost running with somebody else who's describing the route as you're going along. It's a bit like when we just come back from London, and when you have the Audible museum guides, you feel like someone's going along next to you, just going, and now you will see the jug in the picture to your right. How was the run for you, John? Were you chasing Shirley all the way? Zone 5?
I ran the first 8 miles and then I had to walk the rest because my knee was bad.
Oh, you two and your knees.
I know. We're both wrecked. I was relying on my watch a little bit too much, and there was a few occasions where I passed some of the walkers. When the walkers, I eventually caught the walkers up, I'd passed one or two, and then a few minutes later, I'd passed them again, and I'd passed them again as I took wrong turns.
We will be there. We will be there.
Like going off and then passing them, and then like having to tiptoe back around them and then back around them again. So I did an extra couple of miles onto the route. I should have followed the route description, but I just downloaded it onto my watch and I got lazy. I've had some issues leading up to the event, so I was just so pleased just to finish. I realised there was no way I was going to make those 2 hours up, and so in the end, actually Shirley finished like 10 minutes faster than me, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or 10 minutes.
Gary, can we just have that bit as the bit that goes out on Instagram? Shirley finishes 10 minutes faster.
Oh, I love the long distance walk and stuff. It just takes the pressure off. I think maybe overlooked sometimes by ultra runners because you don't get the medal or the t-shirt.
Well, they don't like runners really as well. Like they tolerate them because they need them for the entry fee. But when you go into checkpoints, you have to pretend a bit more that you're walking, don't you? And they're like, you need to eat all these sandwiches and cakes. And you're like, oh God, how am I going to run? But I have to pretend. So you're like, yeah, sound great. I think a lot of people will be listening, heard of your races or done one of your races, but do they know the story of Shirley and John's running? We're going to get into like the history of Hardmoors, but I'm more interested in like, how did you guys find running in your lives? How did you find trail running in your lives? Is it something that worked in parallel, or is it something you both did before you met each other?
We both ran before we met each other. It was through running that we met.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's romance.
The West Highland Way race was how we got to know each other, wasn't it? There was a forum then. There wasn't Facebook or anything, but they had a West Highland Way forum. So we just knew each other through that. And if we were out anywhere, I'd introduce John as my friend John. For years, he was my friend John. It was quite nice when we got together, but it took a while, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And Shirley ran the inaugural, that's actually correct, yeah.
Oh, they're hard words.
In 2008, the first 110, and you were first female finisher. But we weren't together then, and it wasn't until a couple of years later, and then Shirley got me drunk in Chamonix at the UTMB. It was 2010 UTMB, wasn't it? It wasn't called off. It was shortened. It was one that Jez Bragg.
Oh, yeah. They ran it, but it was a low-level, terrible route.
It didn't feel low level.
No, but it's just like it's just never ending, isn't it?
Yeah, when the race was kind of stopped, we were taken back to Chamonix, and Shirley bought me a Stein beer, didn't you?
Well, the waiter came and said, do you want small, medium or large? And I said, oh, large, of course. I didn't even know that he was teetotal and celiac. So we both got merrily drunk. It was pouring down with rain. We staggered our way back to our respective...
Is this after the race? You just came back?
They stopped it at wherever they stopped the race, then took us, as John said, back on a bus, I think, to Chamonix. So we went to the pub thinking, oh, that's it, the race over. But then at about 2 a.m, we get texts saying the race has resumed. Be in the marketplace at 6 a.m. for the bus to take you back to
Kamaya.
John never got the text. Plus, he was so drunk he couldn't have done it. I was so hungover with no sleep, having drunk all that beer, that I staggered my way. I was just feeling so rough. But by the time you went up the zigzag path to the first aid station, I'd sobered up quite nicely.
I can't believe you did it, Shirley.
You were carb loaded, and it's really steep, that climb out of Courmayeur.
Yes.
That's amazing that you went and
Yeah.
did that. And did you go on and finish then? Did you finish in Chamonix?
I did. Yeah, it was good.
Was John
And I was
awake by the time you got to Chamonix?
No, that was the worst bit. I was looking forward to my friend John coming in. I realised he hadn't started, I think. I don't know how I knew that. But anyway, I knew he hadn't started, but I thought, he'll come out and cheer me in. No, he was in bed.
I was in an apartment I'd been stopping with about 12 or 13 other runners. I can't remember if James Elson was there, but there was Drew Sheffield from Centurion. There's George Reed, and there was...
Was it Robbie? Robbie did it that year, didn't he?
Yes,
as well?
yeah, Robbie was in the same... we were all in the same apartment, and they just found me wandering the streets, a very, very drunk guy.
Where's Shirley? Has anyone seen Shirley?
Yeah, exactly. And then they tried to sober me up by giving me some Cocoa Pops, and I fell asleep in the Cocoa Pops, and that was me done. There was no one. I went from this apartment to the finish of the race about 12 times, just collecting runners. That's finished and coming back and forth. But I missed Shirley coming in.
Anyway, the following year we went back to do TDS together. So we did get together then. But that's another story.
Kudos to anybody who got on the start line after that text. My goodness me. I think I'd have been with you, John.
Yeah.
I'd have been snoozing away. I'm curious what the original spark was that led to the creation of Hardmoors. My memory is 2013, I ran the Osmotherley Trail Marathon. I was driving down the A19 merrily and missed the Osmotherley turnoff. I think I actually was on the A1 and realised something's gone wrong here. So I turned around and I just checked the results today. And there's some names on that finish list.
Yeah.
Like Kim Collison's on there, Jason Cavale.
Yeah.
People who are still like part of the community in the sport. But yeah, big thank you that you actually let me start. And I think it was hilarious. This is where I thought I'd stumble on something special. I started after everybody had left. The sweepers had unflagged the course. As a road runner, I had this little breadcrumb sat nav, so I kind of barely knew where I was going. I was immediately walking out of Osmotherley thinking, I'm just not used to this. And I think it called you at Square Corner, and you must have been thinking at the time,
Gary!
who is this guy who have I let loose on the trails? I think you just said, take a left, you'll catch people up eventually. And that's exactly what happened. And that was like, wow, my goodness me. I come from a road running background and then straight into this community.
Just to go back a little bit, 2006, I was lucky to go out and attempt the UTMB at a time when you could enter, you could just get in. I lied about my race running experience because it was my first ultra. I got to Champex and I timed out anyway. But around that time, I looked in the UK to see what races there were, what 100 milers were. And there was, I may have missed some, so I do apologise. Some I may have not known about it because there wasn't that social media that we have now where we can know what events. But there was the Grand Union Canal race. There was the West Island Way race. There was the Caesar's Camp 100. I think it was. And LDWA 100. And that was all the ones I kind of knew. A couple of years later, then, of course, you got James Elson with the Centurion races. And then you got also Mark Laithwaite with the Lakeland 100. Around about then, just before that all kind of kicked off, there wasn't anything. And there wasn't much around the moors. There was plenty of small LDWA events. And there was fell races in the moors, and there was a Lycwake race, but there wasn't anything longer. And I sort of walked and ran the Cleveland Way about the year before, and I thought this would make a really great race. But I thought I'd come across a lot of issues like I wouldn't be able to do it for certain reasons. I suppose I had a feeling of negativity whether it could actually happen. And I went to see Malcolm Hodgson, who was the Cleveland Way National Trails Officer at the time. He just retired this year. I kind of asked him and he said, no reason why not. I then put together the first 110, which was a Cleveland Way. But I spoke to a guy called Dario Malandini, who was the race director at the time of the West Island Way race, who became a good friend. And he gave me a lot of pointers and advice at the time. Because originally I was thinking of starting the race. The Cleveland Way runs from Helmsley to Filey or reverse, whatever way you want to go. And it's about 110, 111 miles. I was going to stop the race in Scarborough to make it a 100-mile race because the West Island Way, as you know, is 95 miles. He said, well, you know, we've got 90, West Island Way is 95, so why would I make that 100? So why are you making the Hardmoors 100, like the Cleveland Way into a shorter distance? You know, just keep it true to whatever the distance is. If anybody wants to know about the last 10 miles, it's not my fault, it's Dario's. Paul Dario passed away in about 2009, I think it was. That was kind of the start of it. And when I first started setting up the first year, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I'd never organised an event in my life. I'd run the West Island Way race a couple of times and had a couple of goes at the UTMB at that point, but I didn't have much experience and I was pretty skint as well. So what I had to use was every single time anybody entered, I could then buy something towards the race. I had no money, no savings. The start line, we had about 17 or 18 runners, including Shirley. Several people had come up from America, Sue Donnelly and Rob Apple. And then there was a couple of people who had come from France. A Dutch guy had come over. So it was kind of like an international field for such a small race.
Yeah.
And so it was brilliant. And I wasn't very stressed either because I didn't realise all the things that could have possibly gone wrong as well. So I do know, I'll drop this in a little bit. The race didn't used to go to the White Horse. There's an out and back on the Cleveland Way where you get to Sutton Bank, which is 9 miles in. Then you do the out and back to this embankment. I took that out, but I put Filey Brig in. So when people got to Filey Brig just before coming into Filey, they'd have to run the half a mile or mile out to the end of Filey Brig, turn around and run back.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I put a checkpoint there, put a marshal there, except when the marshal got bored, he decided to go home. So Paul Shirley was searching around Filey Brig trying to find some marshal.
I wasted a good half hour trying to find the last
Oh, no.
looking everywhere. It was awful.
And when she finished, a friend who was helping me at the time organise the race was fast asleep on a pull-out bed.
You weren't anywhere to see.
No, I was sweeping. I swept 50 miles of the course while trying to race direct to my mobile phone.
So I
that sounds chaos.
Yay, I finished, and somebody goes, "Shh, it's asleep."
Can you imagine Facebook if that happened now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've noticed this with the podcast that it wasn't a plan. Eddie and I never had a meeting, said we need to create a community around this podcast. It just organically happened. Is that your experience with Hardmoors? Like I mentioned, some of the people on the start line for 2013, the Osmotherley Trail Marathon, they are still runners and part of the community today.
It just happened, didn't it? It just grew. I think a huge aspect of that was social media when Facebook kind of took off more. There's so much negativity out there, especially on social media. The Facebook group, I got to a point where I gained more confidence with this, that if anything negative came up or somebody was having a go at somebody or saying, "Oh, that's a daft question," I would just delete their post. It was like, I felt like some kind of god. So complex. So everything needed to be positive, but not overly gushing positive, but
Yeah.
wanted it to remain a safe space. A lot of people at the time that entered the first few races, the Hardmoors races, it was a very, very much smaller community. So they also brought certain ethics to it, and they were fantastic people. It was a lovely community to be part of, and then it just sort of extended through there. It gradually grew and grew and grew. It was never a goal. It was more a goal to introduce a beautiful area to people and for people to enjoy it and love it and have a challenge. And then I think it's just built from there. But like you say with Tea and Trails, I think sometimes if you try to do something, it doesn't work. You just got to let it grow, and just have certain principles and keep to those principles, I suppose. So.
Like I've still got friends. I met a guy called Aaron Gawley who was part of the Hardmoors community. I met him. It must have just been outside of, oh my goodness me, I'm blanking on the Lordstones Cafe. Caught him up at Lordstones and we've been friends ever since. So yeah, it really does nurture, like you say, that kind of safe space. We've got a listener's question from Dylan Rickaby. I was always put off by the hard in Hardmoors, but since running the Wainstones race, I realised I've missed out on some good races. Would you consider changing the name? Shirley, yeah, has that topic ever been discussed?
Yeah, loads of times. The stock reply is, well, it's not called Easy Moors.
I wouldn't mess with Shirley.
Have you seen our cups? The Boss's Cup.
And the real Boss's Cup.
That was a joke from Sprinters who do our T-shirts.
Sort of joke, but sort of true.
Sort of a joke.
Yeah.
No, of course we wouldn't change the name. John invented the name.
Where did you get the name from, John?
I think I nicked a bit of it from Hard Rock.
I see.
To be truthful, I think it probably came from there. And it was going to be Hardmoors, and it was just going to be HMS. But then that sounds like Majesty's Service. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it was Hardmoors Challenges, and then it's the Hardmoors. It's like anything. It feels like a weird name for a while, but then you get so used to hearing it, saying it.
It's you guys, yeah. It would be like...
I always worry though that if somebody comes along and then does like I don't know, like Hardmoors Ultra, and then says, well, that wasn't hard. Why do you call it Hardmoors?
I don't think anyone's.
Got to run faster.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
How do you delegate? There's two of you, obviously. You'll have strengths and weaknesses. How do you delegate? Like, what does race week look like? John, are you saying, look, I'm going to go and buy all the Freddos? How does it all get divvied up?
We do have individual jobs. I doubt we would be able to do it on our own. I suppose I could do the communicating with Marshall's bit that you do, but John knows all the routes in his head. He is an OS map expert, whereas I get them all a bit mixed up because that's not my job. John runs the routes, he recces the routes. I don't do that. I do all the admin, all the booking of everything, communicating with everybody, all my little spreadsheets. I love a spreadsheet. So we don't delegate anything, and we don't want to delegate anything to do with organising. We decided that's the way it is. It's just us. But on race day, of course, we rely enormously on a huge raft, I suppose, of volunteers. We couldn't do it. So a little thank you to all the volunteers who go out and stand on the moors or go and sort out the checkpoints, do all the food. And we couldn't thank each individual.
There's so many. There's so many.
And we've got so many trustworthy people now that on race day we can... Yeah, Jen and Wayne are our stalwarts, really.
Yeah, injured runners, they're quite handy to have. We have a few, like, in the past, we've had a few non-runners, like Peter Swain, Sausage Man.
Yeah. And Fiona Glover, who just takes over the kitchen and organises all the food for us. Rightly or wrongly, we just rely on these people now to just get on and do it. Mm-hmm. It's lovely. And they do get rewards, but not all of people take the rewards. They could enter a race with the race vouchers, but not everybody takes them. There's masses of unused race vouchers. People are very, very generous with their time, and we're very, very grateful.
That does lead us on nicely. We've got another question from Tom Thomas. You mentioned, you've got a wonderful community that you can lean on. You both love running so much. Have you ever considered handing over the reins for just one event so that you can both join in?
In the early years, I got to run the 55 a couple of times, and I got to run the 110 in 2011. And I got a friend to organise and Shirley crewed me, and I was third male. I was fourth actually in overall, but Sharon Gator beat me. But I was third male in about just over 25 hours. That's my little flex there. I ran the 30 a few times. I ran the 55 course on my birthday. I don't think I could pass it on to anyone for the day. Plus, there's a lot of work leading up to the race, which I could do. I think it depletes you so much mentally and physically. I've entered a race which has been like the weekend after the 110, 160. You can tell the difference. You are so drained before you even set foot. You're just mentally drained. So,
having said that, I have delegated. Kindly, John said I could when I went to Australia for the birth of my second grandchild. And I was a bit worried. I did all the admin prior, but actually on the day, things went well. I did have a few phone calls in the middle of the night in Australia, which was fine. I fully expected to be called upon for the odd thing. I was like a mother hen with her babies. I was constantly checking the birds and looking at everything. But I can, from that point of view, one of us needs to be there, but not both. I don't think I'd want to be the one there.
Shirley, do you ever manage to switch off? I've been self-employed and I worked with my wife, and we spent 10 hours, 12 hours a day at work, and then we'd talk about it during the evening too. Similar situation. Do you have any boundaries? My job didn't involve so many people and their emotions and stories too.
Yeah, it is hard because we do work together. John's in one room, I'm in this room normally. We sort of shout through to each other unless I've got my headphones on. That's all we talk about. Even in the evenings, that's all we talk about. My saving grace recently has been, I mentioned my grandchild, but not the one in Australia. I have another one in Saltaire. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I look after her. When I'm there with her, she's just full on. She's absolutely gorgeous, but quite draining. So I can't think about anything else. Yesterday I was there and I switched on the laptop. I managed to answer one email and then she woke up from her nap. And that's it. She has one very short nap during the day. So that's my switch off, completely, totally absorbed by her. And it's really, really good for me because otherwise it can be quite draining. Your switch off is going to the gym, isn't it?
Yeah, I go to the gym or go running. I think we try and go away a lot.
Yeah.
Because when we're at home, you get sat down and you think, oh, I'll just answer this email, I'll just do this, I'll just do that. I know for myself, your whole identity becomes running because all my friends are, I had 5 best men at my wedding. They're all runners. Everybody I know on social media are runners. I coach a few people. Then also, again, I've got the races, so everything feels completely normal. It does become a bit one-dimensional, I'm afraid to say, but I wouldn't change anything such, but we do tend to go away just to escape.
But it's often to go and do a race.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering that. I was like, I can't see you guys going to Magaluf all inclusive. You're choosing a race and then hopefully having a beer.
You recently went to Malaga, didn't you? I've got my eye on the Malaga Marathon. Is it like late December?
Yeah, we would quite like to do that, but we're a bit busy this December.
Mm.
Yeah, we went to stay with the well-known Harriet and Carl Shields, who are also extremely good runners, and with Andy and Sarah Norman came with us too. So again, it was quite a running weekend. Not a lot of running because it was a bit hilly. I was walking quite a lot, but nonetheless. Yeah. Oh, we did have a couple of hours on the beach, didn't we?
Yeah, I think I was probably listening to you guys on the podcast.
Definitely. John, you're a download. This might be quite a hard question to answer because it might be hard to pinpoint one. It's a bit like when you go to an interview and they say, so what's your strengths and weaknesses? But with all the races you've run, the hundreds, thousands of runners you've welcomed over the finish line, is there any moment that sort of sticks with you as in like, this makes it all worthwhile, this is why we do it?
Bit of nepotism. My daughter, Sarah, when she finished the 60 a couple of years ago, first female, that for me was the highlight.
Oh, Shirley, what a moment.
But that's a little bit of favouritism there. Obviously, all our runners are special. Which was first, 160 or 200?
160.
160. We didn't actually expect anybody to finish. So the atmosphere in Helmsley Sports Club was really electric, as there were, I don't know how many finishers, not many, but there were still people finishing something that John hadn't actually designed to be all that achievable. That was so memorable. There were tears all round. It was brilliant.
I look on a tracker list, when it'd be set off, and then I see a few names on there. They'd say the Hardmoors 110, and there'll be people which I know that have run the race 4 or 5 times and DNF'd or timed out or whatever. And I'm really kind of behind them, like trying to push them on. I'm thinking this, I'm not, I'm going to be completely impartial to everybody, and then when they eventually do finish, it's just amazing. Sometimes it's like 5 times they've had a go and not finish, and that one, then that year, the next year they get around. That is probably it. So many people have come back from different things. There's so many, and it's terrible, a lot that I've forgotten in the past. People have come back from injury, from cancer. I wouldn't really want to bring one out because I'd probably then...
Well, they're all little nuggets, aren't they? They're all like woven into the fabric of Hardmoor. So they're all there, even though you go, there's so many, I can't remember. And that's almost like the beauty of it, is that like all the little stories, all the little runners have all built this like sort of like chainmail vest of such an amazing community. Is there a bit on the moors where you're following the trackers where you always think, it's all going to go wrong here? This is where people really struggle.
See if you said the same spot as me, but...
Oh, yeah.
I read your notes.
Oh, right, okay.
Loworth Crossing. I mean, for me, when I did the events, done the 55 a couple of times and the 110, and Loworth is just a little bit bleak. I don't know that I've ever done it in nice weather. And so that if they're going towards Helmsley, Claybank is the place where lots of people drop out. They just say, no, I'm too cold, I'm too wet, too miserable. They don't necessarily get lost there, but it's as you can see people getting slower and slower and slower and thinking, I don't like this anymore.
It's the highest part of the North York Moors, even though it's not as high as any of the Highlands or any, or the lakes or anything. It's just like it's a plateau and it's so exposed to the Northern Sea and the winds, etc. And so people along there are kind of up there at the height for about 9-10 miles, from Kildale over to kind of Claybank. It can be quite boring. And if you're at that point and you can't run, Gary from other races, but Northern Traverse, because you go from Claybank over to Lying Inn and you go on to Blurf Crossing.
I think that's when my legs turned red.
I think you're right, Gary. I think we did question. We wanted to stop. Shirley and John would have got a call going, no, we're not going on. No, this is... It is so bleak up there. And it's almost like the history of being up there. You can feel like nobody's ever had joy joy up here. It is endless. There's no like almost landmarks as well to help you. It's just like more.
And depending on which way you've done it, you've come out of comfy Kildale. And what is it, like a 4-mile climb up? And
yes, it is. Yeah.
Underestimate, you might look at the elevation profile of the moors, but the mix, like you say, the exposure, the wind coming in, just that little bit of elevation. Oh yeah, Blythe Crossing. I think, yeah, definitely. That was when I saw the question, I was like, yeah, that's 100%. That's probably my sketchiest part of the moors.
Yeah.
And going back a few years, I think it was the second Hardmoors 110 with a friend called Murder McEwen.
Was going to mention.
Yeah, he came down from Edinburgh to Marshall because we obviously didn't have trackers then, but we wanted to make sure people hadn't taken a shortcut. So we needed to put a Marshall up near Blythe Crossing. And he went out there and he was out there for like 12 hours overnight. It was like, yeah. But he was in a bivvy bag. He was laid out in a bivvy bag about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. A couple of 4x4s went zooming down there and literally missed his head by about a couple of feet. And he had a photo of where he was and where the track was. So he could have been decapitated on the road. So, yeah.
That is pretty stressful.
Memories.
That it is a bleak place. That would have made it even more bleak place.
It would have been.
Murder's Crossing.
Crossing. Do you know who has done the most Hardmoors miles?
Yeah, Richard Whittaker. He's on about 4,050 Hardmoors miles. For Hardmoors miles is that they've got to have completed they can't count DNF miles, and it's going to be completion of a full race.
Oh, that is
that's
tough.
Shirley's rules, isn't it? Shirley's like, no,
that came from the 100 Marathon Club, where when I was wanting to join it, which I have done, you couldn't count a DNF. So that's what we said.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. And he's Richard. He just like the other year did the winter 200 Centurion race, and then he did the Spine, and then he did Spine Summer, he did Northern Traverse, and he just does like hundreds of events. Just walks through them as well. Yeah. And then it's Sean Higgins and a couple of others. So
yeah.
Do you know what the female one is?
The Emily Beaumont, probably, or Pam Costello. I think Emily Beaumont.
Did Emily just beat Pam?
Yes, I think she is. She's on 3,000 something. Because they've got to forward their miles to us, and then we add them on, etc. So I think when Emily got to 3,000 miles, she hasn't been in contact to say she's done more miles since then, but she hasn't let us know. So whereas Richard, as soon as he's done a race, straight away.
Oh, I'm going to have to add up my miles. I'm a long way off 1,000, but
exactly,
I did the Grand Slam. I've done loads of the marathons. I've done the 55 a few times.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe that's a long-term goal. Yeah, I'll have to crunch the numbers. I wondered if you just wrote this question in, John, actually. John, one of our patrons, John, my first ever Hardmoors event was the 55 mile back in 2019 in some pretty rubbish weather. The Marshals volunteers out there couldn't do enough for us that day, and the reception I got on the finish was why I enjoy doing the Hardmoor events when I can. It's just a great family and a can-do atmosphere that helps get us runners around. For that, thank you very much. I wonder who John is. I didn't get his second name.
No, I was wondering. It wasn't me. But it spelled it like
spelled the same. It's spelled the same. It sounds familiar.
I've got a question for you, Shirley. If you could whisper one piece of advice into the ear of every first-time Hardmoors runner, what would it be?
Enjoy the day, take in the scenery, and time doesn't matter. I mean, I come from a road running background, so time did matter, but you've got to just enjoy it. Don't beat yourself up. The moment you stop enjoying it, that's become my motto. Don't carry on. If it's not fun anymore, you might as well DNF. I put nice music in my ears, off I go. That would be my advice. Try to enjoy it. Don't get too competitive. Start slow. And if you can speed up, or you can just get slower, can't you?
What are you listening to, Shirley? What's in your ears?
Oh, I have quite an eclectic mix.
Techno.
But I do quite like techno. I've just created a new playlist. I went for a little run the other day, and it's called Sublime. It's music that for me feels sublime. Whatever I'm doing, if I'm trying to pack, we pack an awful lot. We're always packing for this, that, and the other. I like to have music in my ears, sometimes a glass of wine in my hand as well. But if it makes me do this, then it's sublime. But yeah, there's a lot of techno.
I wondered, like if techno's your like go-to norm. I don't know what sublime. How do we take that down? Where do we go from there?
But there's also classical in there. When I was doing the Kerry Way race, I got to the top of a hill and I was in tears because the music was, Song to the Moon. The views were beautiful and I was just having such a lovely time. Yeah, enjoy would be my words. Try to.
I thought about this question, and we get to determine what success is. It doesn't have to be a time. It also doesn't have to be a finish. Maybe someone's goal is to, if they're doing the, say, 110, for example, they might get to Saltburn. That's the furthest they've ever run. So, yeah, don't get wrapped up in the whole thing. I've got a question for you, John. I'm asking for a friend. Tips for people who are taking on big, scary challenges, something maybe like the Northern Traverse.
Well, I think you've always got to respect the course. You've got to really respect the course, but you've also got to respect the fact that you're capable of much, much, much more than you could ever possibly imagine. So that your unleashed potential as such is massive. You should have that respect there, but respect that you're tougher than the course that is. Also remember that the lowest low is followed by the highest high. So it's like being a druggie, if I can say that. So the lower that you go, the lower that you feel, the crapper where you want to stop. If you just wait around the corner, then this amazing high comes. So you just got to hang on there and hope it comes. And if you hang on there and hang on, it comes, then it's amazing. And it's just about believing in yourself, but that fine line between not being cocky, but having confidence, I suppose.
But it's the Hardmoors strapline, isn't it? Time to stop doubt and start believing.
Yeah, unless you're running on the Lakeland 100 and it says time to stop. Stop believing and start doubting.
Yeah.
John, what is the biggest reason you see people not finishing your races?
I think the head goes. Well, actually, it's between that and stomach. Sometimes they just can't take on any food and they are being sick and they just can't keep any calories down. Between those two things. But I think it predominantly is head games. And there's so many really good, fantastic runners in the past and who've trained so well, and then just on the day it's not gone to plan because their head's talked out of it. I can only relate this to ultra running, and the longer stuff is it becomes more of a level playing ground. You get some of the faster runners, if you're a slow runner you can sometimes end up passing them because it's just having that mental strength to continue and push on. So I think the further the distance, the more it seems to create this overall playing field. That's what I like about ultras, because I'm a slow runner, but sometimes I can pass people who are a lot faster than me just purely by being determined and pig-headed. So,
but it's a hard muscle to practice in training because you don't get that in training. You don't get that question of whether you can do it because you've set out to put yourself. So it's almost a learnt. And yes, I think people find this hard as well because they think, they go and they maybe their first attempt at 100 or a 50K or putting themselves outside the box. You can't face that demon and feel those feelings until you've done it. And some people breeze through it, or they might have done a couple and then reach that barrier as well of like when you get to that, you're going, I can't get off the moor. I can't do it. And we work so hard on like our kit and our fueling and our, training the body, but the mind. And it's not a fault in some ways. Like sometimes you have to make a failure and say, mentally I just wasn't there. I'd not felt that before. And I was a bit frightened to go back out and do another 55 miles because my Sublime playlist was not giving me the vibes today.
In a way, it's an incredibly hard sport. Like you say, I mean, on the longer stuff, you can spend, somebody may have one race penciled in for the year and spend all year training for that. And you can go out and you just have a bad day and everything goes to pot. And then you think, then it destroys your confidence. You could try and build that confidence again to go back out again. It's almost like the more that you learn, the more that you know, the more that you realize you don't know a thing, because you can have this proof like plan and then it just can go to pot, and you can have done dozens of ultras and then all of a sudden one day you'll go out and it just won't work anymore. It can be very, very annoying and very, very upsetting, but I suppose it's part of the journey. I know quite a few people who have years not ever DNF'd a race. They go out and they DNF a race and it completely destroys them. It really knocks them back. They're not used to that. Whereas others that have had quite a few DNFs can start to build some kind of resilience. So
I keep telling people now, DNFs get easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. And I think it's getting, and again, it's learning that it's not validating you as a person if you decide that it's not your day or you don't feel well or whatever the reason for not finishing. No one is going to go, they're an awful person. Did you see what happened? Well, firstly, no one cares.
No.
But as long as you learn from it, you know, whatever that learning might be, it doesn't need to be something like that you need to write a book about. But as long as you go, I messed that up. I went out too fast, or, you know, I need to do that better in my life to be in a better position at the race. That's why we do it. That's why we keep coming back. That's why you guys can provide all these races, because we're addicted to it.
This is the puzzle with ultra races, though. You can think, I've learned from that, I'm going to change my nutrition, and then you tip up at the start line next year. I don't know, my goodness, mate, it's horrendous weather or whatever it is, your Achilles goes or your hamstring goes. It's so brutal. Something that you said earlier about you just focus on one event. I wrestle with that all the time. I've been hyper focused in the past on maybe more like a road marathon or something, all eggs in that basket, and it didn't come off. Do you do that, or do you just fill your year up with joy and just do loads and loads of races? I never quite get the balance right.
Before I met Shirley, I was in a relationship where I do one race a year because it caused too much conflict. I do my training early in the morning, and then I would just do this one. But I mean, I was very lucky. I'd do like a big race like UTMB or West Highland Way. I'd just do like one event. And then, you, like you said, you put all your eggs into that one basket. There's a couple of times I timed out on the UTMB. I was just completely not destroyed. And then when I met Shirley and we kind of got together, it was a completely different life, because Shirley was doing like 40 events a year. You know, that every weekend would be an LDW event or something else like what? This is amazing. And the following year, Shirley went to work in Saudi, and I ran sort of 53 ultras in a year, because I thought, well, Shirley's away, what am I going to do? So I thought I came from stupid this thing. I mean, there's extremes, and you shouldn't try to do too much because you can't recover, and then you get injuries, etc. And it's a bit of a weird one, because usually when I'm running a race, I'm usually busy thinking about the next race I'm running.
John, you're mad. I think the biggest thing is that you have to enjoy the process, and the race is just a cherry. And the race doesn't validate the training block or the running that you do before and after the race. The race is just part of the program, and it might go well, it might not go well, and then you just move on. You've got to enjoy the life more, the lifestyle, because it's a lifestyle, isn't it?
You're right. That's it. I love training. I enjoy the journey of the training.
I don't really enjoy the races. Sorry, I know that you're race directors, but
no, it's all right. No, I love training. I love training. You know, and if I wasn't running, I'd be doing something else, incorporated some kind of training. The main thing is to enjoy the event. And if you're not enjoying the event, if you're taking part in an event and you're not enjoying it, and I know there is a point where it can be bloody awful, but you've got to think, right, why am I doing this? And I a few years ago, I think this came to me. I was doing the Arc of Attrition. I can't remember what year. It was just before COVID. It was 2020, and it was so wet and it was so muddy, and I know it's such a beautiful area. By 12 miles, I'd fallen over about 12 times, covered in mud. And I thought, this is bloody awful. And I know it's such a beautiful area. And I got to the first support point where you were, Shirley, and I says, I'm stopping. And Shirley thought I was joking. I never had that point afterwards where I'm thinking, well, I shouldn't have stopped, I should have carried on. There was never that. I just realised that I didn't need to do it. And I think that was a big revelation. And you've been saying that for quite a few years, haven't you, Shirley?
Yeah, but my biggest thing is, if your mantra as you're running along is, what's the point? What's the point? As it was on the Felsman for me one time. Well, what is the point? Why am I punishing myself?
Don't start asking that sort of question. I'll be like, oh my God, what is the point? Why are we all here? What are we doing?
I've had this conversation, as I think I mentioned before. Well, a few very, very strong ultra runners who were doing the Lakeland 100. And if you're not enjoying it, don't do it. You can push through a certain amount, but if there is no pleasure at all, there is no point.
It seems to be really trendy to go to 200 mile plus. It's something that we've talked about on the podcast quite a lot recently, and this is, I suppose, why I've gravitated back towards the Hardmoors Trail Marathon series, because I wasn't getting what I wanted out of these big events, and it wasn't. I was taking the easy route out by doing a shorter race. I just needed to do something I was getting enjoyment out of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not a case at all. We've had a marathon series. We had 10K and a half and a marathon. And people run the 10Ks and they feel sometimes pressured. I emailed out a year ago or something saying, no, please don't feel pressured into moving up distance. You run what you want to run. You know, you run that distance, and every distance can be as hard or as easy as you want it to be. To me, a 10K is scary. You know, it's going to be pain. And I do feel, even myself, I feel it's kind of, I don't know, it's my own pressure, I know, pressure to to be entering 200 milers. My favourite distance is probably 100 miles. I like that distance and I enjoy that distance. There is that pressure, and I don't know where it comes from. I think it must be social media, but your own expectations on yourself. And I keep feeling like I should enter this one, I should enter this other one, this other 200 and this other 200. But I don't know where that's come from.
Every year at Coniston, I think I wish I was doing the 50. I think that is the best weekend. You could have a lovely race, a big day out, see the entertainment on the Friday night, maybe even have a drink if you wanted. But yeah, I still put my name in the hat for the 100 every year.
Yeah, it's just like, I think it's ultra running mentality. You know, it's kind of like, you just think, oh, I should do the longest of the distances. What I should really do is just what you really, really want to do. Yeah.
Well, wait till you're old, like Shirley, and then you get sensible. Because I always used to tick the box for the longest possible distance of an event. Now I think, no, actually, I want to enjoy this, so I might go for a shorter distance.
I think I need you on speed dial, Shirley, just for general life decisions, I think, of like, Shirley, what would Shirley do now? I'm really interested, and Andy Stevenson's asked this question as well, is what are the biggest changes you've noticed as race directors and participants in the ultra world in the last, 20 years? Andy's first Hardmoors event was 2012. So I think that's
Andy's
right.
a good friend.
Yeah. What's the biggest sort of difference you can make that can go on the podcast without people?
Social media, obviously, Instagram, a lot of races become very trendy because you have it like an Instagram team, etc. Another thing is 2012, after the Olympics, there seems to be a huge amount of runners taking part in events. It really was like a bit of a boom. And over the years, there's been more and more events. So now it's kind of a saturated field with events. The runners have stayed the same amount, I think, in the last few years. It was a bit strange around COVID times. Things kind of got really busy directly after COVID, but then the year after they're starting to quiet out. People are entering races much, much later. Apart from say Spine or Lakeland or some of the big races which sell out straight away, the smaller races, they take a lot longer to fill. I do the same. I look at an entry list and I hang on and hang on and hang on.
Does that make race directing hard?
Yeah, and it's me that does all the finances, and I will recognise which races are just non-profit making. And at the end of the day, we are a business. Therefore, that's why you'll see a couple of our races dropping from the race calendar over the next year or two. Much as we love doing it, we can't do it for nothing or even make a loss. So we will look at other things.
Neil Robinson has asked that question. He was saying some of the races that you're doing are your last ones. Is that, he was asking why. Why is that? Yeah. Because you're going to...
Finances, if you don't get enough people, you're still having to pay the same for hall hire. Yeah. We still have to pay for all our business costs. If it's not making a profit, it really isn't worth it when it's days out of our calendar that could be spent sorting something else out.
Or entering another race.
Yeah.
So what next then? I suppose, you've mentioned about some races being dropped and because they're not profitable, but is there any plans for 2026, 2027?
Well, I've come out with a few ideas for 2026, but the issue is trying to find time to put them into a busy race calendar. And we're trying to avoid putting on races. We still have a race in January, but trying to avoid putting races on in November, December time because of the conditions and things. So something will come out next year, but whether it's a series of night races or it'll be a longer night race, a marathon distance night race. 2027, it's our 20th anniversary. When we had our 10th anniversary, we introduced the Hardmoors 200. So in 2027, then the idea is that we're going to create something.
One-off, but you said that about the 200.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But anyway, and then also maybe a couple of more races, a couple of trail races, trail marathon series kind of distance races. But in other words, may streamline some of the races down which aren't working really well, but we'll be adding things there as well. It does look like, because within a small space of time, we're two events, which will be our final year of these events. So it almost looked, with two of them coming out at the same time, it did look like we were downsizing, but we're not really, because I think we've got ideas. So.
Yeah, it's good to hear, because I saw that on the Facebook group as soon as you said about it being the last year. Then there was this kind of outpouring of a call to action to get people to enter. So it's great to hear. And it's good that you've got this opportunity to share it also, because it's sometimes on Facebook, it's hard to kind of understand the tone of a conversation sometimes. So
Yes. And thank you for the shout outs about the 8. Yeah, it does. So thank you.
Question from Patreon, Jenny Birdsell. My experience of a Hardmoors Hardmoors race was the 110 this year, and it did not disappoint. I chose this race because it would take me back to where I grew up. Mike, is that similar to your race just recently, Shirley? Excellent.
Yeah.
Allowing my family to support me and for me to explore an area that I hadn't explored enough as a child and teenager. One of the other reasons why I chose this race was the community that surrounded the Hardmoors events, as well as the relatively small and supportive nature of the races. I find huge start lines quite intimidating, so this was perfect for me. So I wanted to ask, when you choose your own races to compete in, what makes you choose a particular race?
As the pot around the Otter was an example of, and also X2X, it's going back to Devon where I grew up, which is a beautiful place. If I didn't live in Yorkshire, I would move back to Devon. But then other places that we haven't been to before, we like to go abroad and do races in not necessarily exotic places, although we have raced in exotic places, but then ones that we like to revisit that we've done before. The trouble is there's only so many weekends.
There's races I'd like to do, but I can't because we've got a race ourselves on that same weekend. Visiting different places, definitely, different areas. I've entered the Winter Centurion 100 in December because I've been meaning for many years to get to do a Centurion race, possibly hoping to enter the it's a Still Places Thames Path 100 because it's just fallen that I'm free to be able to take part in that race. Depending on what my goals are going to be, a year ago I did a lot of the canal, I did the Canal Slam and a lot of flatter races. It all depends on what my overall goal is going to be. Unfortunately, I'm not like Debbie Martini Consani, who can do a 24-hour track race and then win Lakeland 100, within a few months of each other. I have to run on that type of terrain, whatever terrain that I want to take part in, It's going to different areas and taking part in different events. I try to avoid anything with too much ascent or descent or because my knees are shot.
You're in for a treat with Winter 100.
Yes.
You're in for a treat.
Yes.
Have you run on any of those trails? No, because those trails are actually, you've got bits of the North Downs Way at the end, but you'll never have run around there, have you? Any of those bits?
My brother had his 60th on parts of the North Downs Way. We decided to go park somewhere and run to the pub where they were all meeting. It was way harder than I thought it would be. I don't think it's that.
But we did see the naked woman, didn't we?
No, we did see a naked woman on Box Hill.
Yeah.
Well, James, have you put that in your request to James to say, will the naked woman be a
pushing
Box
a
Hill?
pram completely topless? It was a sunny day.
No.
This is very odd.
Had you two been on the beers again?
No, not that time.
I still haven't got over it.
No,
John's
Where to look.
it was in
Was it a Trail Outlaws race once where there was some load of naturists out one day? Oh, goodness me, was that like the Devil's Stairway or something like that?
Oh.
Well, I did one last year. So earlier this year, I did the Duke Ridge 40 and I passed a couple of naked guys on mountain bikes.
On mountain bikes?
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Imagine that saddle. Oh,
Did you go from behind? Were you did you get
Yes.
the behind? Oh my
I went from
God.
behind and also I went from the actually, that sounds really wrong.
Oh, John, that's not. Don't relive it here. I'm a bit scared to ask this next question because who knows what you two are going to come up with. But I don't know if you've prepped for this or one of you wants to choose what every week we ask people what their favourite workout is and then they can give it a go if they so feel it. Who's going to give the workout?
My answer is workout. What workout? I don't.
Of course. I wouldn't expect anything else.
I lift a baby. That's all the training I do. I don't go running. I don't particularly like training. You talked about you liking training. I don't really like training. So I just go out and do races. That's my training. Or pushing a baby's buggy up steep hills around Saltaire. That's my training.
I lived in a place called Hornsey, which is really flat. I would get to the lakes maybe twice a year and I was trying to train for UTMB. So I would be on the treadmill and I would just put it at 15% and then just spend an hour or two building up to about 3 hours of just running. When I say running, it's kind of like moving like a running movement.
Shuffling.
Shuffling. I got some really great workouts for that. It really made a huge amount of difference. As we know in this country, you if you try to say run to the top of a hill or a mountain, you'd get to the top of it in, I don't know, depending, maybe half an hour, but then nothing like the Alpine mountains, etc., which go on for hours and hours and hours. So you've got that continuous climb. I quite enjoy incline treadmill work, really. I love it. And an hour on 15%, nothing Nothing overly technical.
Uphill treadmill, I'm a big fan too.
We love it.
Gary's copied
Yes.
me.
I think it's really good. I think it's brilliant.
Do you ever procrastinate though, John? I know you said you enjoy the training, and I enjoy the training, but the build up to the workout, I do get a bit of anxiety.
Oh yeah, I really do. I went out yesterday. I should have been tapering, but I've got some new trainers. I needed to actually just run outside in them, to see how they were. Similar to you, you're working from home, so I knew I could go out at a specific time. So I got a length of time I could go, and I kept trying to find things to do to avoid going out. So
yeah.
I love training, but when it gets close to the time, it's a real battle just to put the shoes on and go out. And sometimes with my knees, I know how it's going to be. Past few months having some issues with my breathing through iron, etc. That's been quite awful because I didn't know if I was going to go out and then really, really struggle and then actually then be going backwards rather than forwards. So yeah, I think it's great if you can be one of these people that gets up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, rolls out of bed, grabs something to eat quickly and then runs and don't have to think about it. But yeah, if you've got half the day to spend thinking, yeah, okay, how's this going to go?
I'll get up at 5, I'll roll out of bed, have something to eat, watch BBC Breakfast for an hour, and then I may as well have just spent the next hour in bed and do fat fun. Quick 5 time. Okay, John, you can go first with this one. Anyone famous in your phone contacts? You don't have to share their names, or maybe somebody famous who's been on a Hardmoors start line. I'm thinking like Jonathan Ross. He's pretty famous.
Yeah, there's one or two. I'm just trying to think. Oh yeah, I often go running by. It's not that famous, but if you ever seen Emmerdale,
But he's not in your phone.
He's not in my phone, but he lives in the next village from us. I forgot his bloody name now.
Kane Dingle.
Kane Dingle.
Kane Dingle's a runner. Brilliant.
Yeah,
No, he's not. Well,
he runs a bit. I've passed him running. Yeah.
have you?
I mean, I didn't run him past it. I didn't race by him. I didn't race by him and stop him in the back.
But he's not in your phone.
He's not in my phone.
I'm going to Google him to see who you're talking about.
That's good enough.
Bad boy out of Emmerdale.
He is a bad boy in Emmerdale.
Yeah.
I'm friends on Facebook with the guy who ran across America.
Richard Donovan.
That's him. Yeah.
I think it's probably more celebrity runners that we know rather than like other famous people. Yeah, like you've completely fangirled Dean Carnegie, didn't you?
Yeah. He's always been my hero. So
he is legit famous, though. He is legit famous, Dean.
Yeah,
he's
definitely.
he's a good follow actually on Facebook if you're into running.
Yes, and when you were doing that Greek one, he asked me for a photo with him.
What a rock star. Good old
I
Dean.
know.
Yeah.
Shirley, you can answer this one first. Your favourite, if you had to pick one, which is your favourite Hardmoors event?
Hardmoors event 55. It's doable in a day. If the weather's not horrible, it's quite a pleasant day. I've done it in awful conditions, but I've also done it in really, really hot conditions, believe it or not, in March. But that's my favourite.
And from a participant point of view, is that probably, say, your most popular ultra?
I think it is. Yeah, we get the biggest numbers there.
For me, it's the 110 because it was original, and I've got to run it once as a race and another 4 times just as like supported by Shirley, and it's just the blend of the coast with the inland moors and Cleveland Hills. So yeah. I think it's that distance. So yeah,
it's a little bit of a different spin on this question. But Patreon Tim Dowling, he asks if you were going to recommend to somebody who was going to try one of your races for the first time, which one would it be?
Can I do this one, please? Can I answer this question? Well, I think they should enter if they're going to enter 26.2, it should be the Waynestones Marathon. And if they want to do an ultra, I think probably the first one they should do is the Hardmoors 200 with a 60-hour cut-off.
That could be the taper run, the Waynestones.
Yeah.
That's long run. What about you, Shirley?
Well, actually, if they were a complete beginner, the Turnpike Trot is really nice. It's in a safe environment. It's still challenging. It's really doable.
5K and 10K.
Yeah. 5K, 10K is nice.
It's off, yeah. And probably for an ultra, the Hardmoors 30.
Yes.
Yeah, with 12 hours back along the coast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's nice.
Quite runnable.
White Horse 10K, people say is really nice.
I feel like I'm in the agenda meeting, the weekly meeting.
Yeah.
55. I think out of all the ultras, Yeah, I'd lean towards the 55. But the 30 is great because it is an ultra, but you haven't kind of dedicated a whole day to it if you've kind of managed to finish in an okay time. Oh, talking about other races, Shirley, you can go first with this one. Is there a favourite event, a race that you keep going back to? Can't be London Marathon.
It can't be London Marathon because I no longer have good for age. It was my favourite that I kept
23, was it London Marathon?
22, I can't remember how many times. I liked the lightweight challenge, but again, I'm not sure I'm capable of it anymore.
You are.
X2X, quite low key, really, down on the Devon coast. I keep going back to that. Very challenging.
I want to say Lakeland, but we've ever since, even though we're not running now, we marshal. But like I've got that slate like you at the back there, the 5 times 100 Lakeland 100, and I got to run the 50 once. You've run the 50 how many times? 7 times, and you've done the 100 as well, haven't you? Yeah. The whole community of Lakeland's fantastic. We've been at Lakeland every year since we've been together, every single year. So yeah.
Oh, last question. Shirley, every week we share the podcast on social media, over on Instagram, and we need to put a song to our Instagram post and story. What's it going to be?
I was listening, I don't know how I came across it, but Run Rigs from the North has become our music just for the 110 and the 200 and 160.
But there is something else attached to that. Dario Mellaggini's his funeral. I never got a chance to attend, but they played that at his funeral as well. So that then ties back into his help with the start. So
yeah. There's a phrase where it goes, miles to go before you sleep. I think at the start line, people aren't really listening to the words, but to me it's miles to go before you sleep. I love that. And
one more quickly, before this morning quickly, is Tim Capello's I Still Believe of the Lost Boys.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I'm
one.
trying to get
Yeah.
Still
it's a tough one.
Maybe we need to do it. We'll have to run it for 2 weeks.
We're a similar age, John, so probably like me in my teenage years, I had the Lost Boys album on repeat. Probably about a year long. Excellent. I still believe Lost Boys.
And there's a sax player for the women and men that like the must be sax player there with this,
Well, I'm listening to it. It's good. Yeah.
You should see the video. You'd enjoy the video.
Would I?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm adding it to my playlist.
From the film, like don't go for him doing it now, but like in the film, it's from the film.
Lost Boys. I can't remember. I've watched it loads of times, but
It's probably really inappropriate in places, but wow, at the time it was absolutely
outrageous,
amazing.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
John and Shirley, thank you so much. We should start with an apology because you are running ultra royalty. And we've not. Yeah, you are, Shirley. And we haven't. And you've been so requested on the podcast, and we've been doing the podcast for far too long before you got you on. We've got you on, but now we've got you, and Gary's got your phone numbers. There'll be no escaping us. And I feel we've only touched the surface of both your illustrious running careers. There's not a race that you two haven't done, seen, known, and the knowledge that you've gained over the years as well is incredible. So thank you for sharing just a little bit. Thank you on behalf of all the Hardmoors runners. You've obviously built something that is unreplicable. The love, the sweat, the tears, the blood that must have gone into that, and to carry on through COVID, coming out the other side, and still to be like sort of hungry about where can we take this? What are we doing? Always looking for more. That's really admirable as well. So I'm sure you've changed thousands of runners' lives. You give so much as well. And we only hear amazing things from people who listen to the podcast about you two. And so just to share a little bit of your journey the last hour, thank you so much. And good luck with the Winter 100. I hope the weather gods are in your favour. And good luck being Super Gran and all the rest of the races that you've got planned. And don't be strangers, no doubt. We come back, there's more. There's definitely a relationship here that we can...
I'll see you next year. All the Hardmoors Trail Marathon Series.
Good.
Sorry about that. Just message me if he's too much. Just let me know.
It was, it's funny because I did quite a lot of Hardmoors stuff, and then maybe I was seduced by the lakes or something. I'm not too sure what it was, but there's a few years that I wasn't really there. And I was part of the relay team on the 110.
Yes, you were. Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
And it was like, what have I been missing out on? This is wonderful. So I'm really, really looking forward to. And also, I downloaded the GPX for the Wayne Stones marathon route. So we've been bothering those trails.
You owe them some money. You owe John some money for that route. If he's a route planner, you've used and abused. And a number of people have stolen it from you and do it now as well.
Yeah,
so.
it's well used. Take care. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.